This is Austin from Brush for Hire with another painting tutorial for you. By popular demand, we have Ol Rowdy from the Signor line. So let me just go ahead and show you what I've got down on him so far. He is primed in black, and then I have airbrushed a white coat from the top. I also did a medium gray from about 45 degrees first to give it some midtones, and then we hit the tops of everything with white. So he's going to be predominantly blue. So our first step is going to be to pretty much just cover everything in blue wash. So we're going to take some Azurine blue wash from the Citadel line. I'm just going to put some on my palette over here. And I'm just going to use a big old brush, and we're going to start putting the blue down on him. And we are going to apply liberally the entire model. So we're going to use a decent amount of wash on this whole deal, but it will be worth it. So you can already sort of start to tell here the type of gradient we're seeing. We've got some really dark areas down here, and then up on the top surfaces, we've got much lighter because we've got the white showing through. So obviously there are some parts that we're not really going to need to focus too much on getting blue on, but for the sake of simplicity, you can just go ahead and put blue down on everything for him. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up, and I'll be back in a second. So this is the first coat down here. We've got him with one coat of Azurine blue on him currently. He's still a bit too light in the light spots up top. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and apply a second coat of Azurine blue again. So and on any large open areas like this, you want to be very careful to not leave any real streaks when you apply the paint, because in these areas here where there's lots and lots of detail for the washes to interact with, you're not going to see a whole lot of odd sort of inconsistency, I suppose, or unevenness in the finish on it. But on large open spaces like this, it's going to show a lot more. And we can fix even some of the minor ones that are almost inevitable with some highlighting and shading once we get through the washing portion of this. So get that. And as you can see, there are some parts that I've left completely unwashed here, namely the steam pack on his back. That's all pretty much going to be silver, so we're really not that concerned with making that blue. So, and for this second wash, we're mostly focusing on the parts that we think are too bright. So that's essentially going to be the upper surfaces. And just make sure that you haven't missed any spots anywhere. Give it a good thorough once over once you've got it to I guess close to where you'd like it to be. Just make sure there's no white showing through anywhere. And here is essentially what we're looking for. So we're gonna have to let this dry for just a little bit, and I'll be back for the first set of highlights, and then we'll start cutting in with some metallics. So here we are. We've got the second coat down now, and I believe it's time to do a little bit of highlighting some of these blue areas. So we're just going to start up here on the top, and I've mixed up just a little bit of white with some Azurine blue and some water. So it's fairly diluted, and we're just gonna hit some of these top areas here. Mostly what we're doing is we're smoothing out some of these areas a little bit. I think I may need a little more white in there. Okay. And I'm still not seeing much of a difference here. What's that, just a touch more white? This is also extremely dilute, so there we go. And we want to sort of push up towards the upper parts of these panels, so that's where we want the highlights to end up. It's actually a lot easier to pull, so we're going to sort of flip him upside down here. And just pull, pull, pull. All right. And we're not looking to do a whole lot of work here, because the entire reason that we did this pre-shading here is that we wouldn't have to do much work. This entire style is all about speed and efficiency. And you can go into a lot more detail if you choose to, but my goal is to teach everyone how to paint some decent miniatures without having to spend hundreds of hours painting your army. Okay, that panel, we're going to come to the back here. And like I said before, these really large open panels like this are probably going to be the things that give you the most difficulty. It's not going to be the detailed parts, it's going to be the undetailed parts. And actually, you know what, the more I'm looking at this, I haven't really looked at the standard color scheme for him, but I'm thinking this might be a good one to do all in silver or all in gold. This whole pauldron section over here. So let's not worry about that one too much. Let's just keep on keeping on here. So we'll hit some highlights down here in this open area. Get a little going on in there. Some right here on tops of the upper legs. Go. And just a little bit on some of these finger joints down here. I just really don't want to labor over these parts very much, because realistically we've already got everything fairly well shaded here, so there's not very much left to do on that part. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and skip on through, and we'll do why don't we do silver next. So all the parts that are going to be silver, let's go ahead and do those, and we will use some chainmail silver. Normally I might be more inclined to use bolt gun metal and then do some highlights in chainmail, but for Signar, I think that they look rather nice with just some really bright silver parts on them, especially since we want it to contrast with the very dark blue that's already here. So we're just going to go into some straight chainmail silver, no additions or anything. Make sure he's all in focus, and let's start on this pauldron over here that we decided on silver for. You really got to try and break up some of the blue in Signar, and I think this is a perfect situation where you start to look at something and you're like, you know what, I just don't think that needs to be blue. That's one of the things that I have a problem with a lot of the standard paint schemes when it comes to a lot of the factions. You know, everything in Khador is red. Everything in Signar is blue. Everything in Krix is black with a green glow. Everything in Menoth is sort of off-white. And, you know, for the house paint schemes that Privateer Press does, they look great. There's nothing wrong with their paint schemes. I just think that it's too monochrome for my taste and for the taste of the customers I have. So let's go ahead and get the inside of this pauldron done. I know this is a rather large brush, but these are not particularly small areas that we're having to fill in with this, so I'm not particularly concerned about how big the brush is. Okay guys, my camera's acting a little funny. I'm not really sure what's going on with it. It tends to sort of stop mid-shot here. Don't really know what's going on with it, but we'll just keep on rolling here. Haven't lost anything. Alright, so let's just make sure that this whole surface here is well covered. We don't have any blue showing through there. This is looking pretty good from my perspective here. So let's go ahead and do the hammer next. And we'll just keep using this big brush here, because we don't really have anything adjacent to it that we're trying to keep from getting silver on. Okay. Okay, there we go, and I think it's time to switch to a more reasonable sized brush here. Okay. Okay. Looking pretty good there. I gotta get the undersides here. I'm gonna go ahead and get the hammer and probably a couple places on the feet and some of the rivets and these hemispheres on that, and some of the spikes all painted in silver, and I'll be back in a second. The silver is done now, and I just thought I'd give it a spin here. You can see exactly what we've got done. There is a lot of silver on him right now, and it is looking awfully bright and shiny. Our next step here is that we're going to go ahead and lay down some Bada Black on all of these silver parts. So I'm going to go ahead and set him down for just a second, and we'll get some Bada Black poured, and we'll go ahead and start laying down a layer of that. And this will be another pretty simple step here. I will admit the silver part of this took a little while, because there's a lot of really high accuracy sort of brush strokes you have to do to get the black down. Revived it all. So, okay, so let's try this again. So we are more or less just going to go over all the silver parts with Bada Black. There we go. And honestly, this brush is a little big for the vast majority of the parts that we're about to do. So let's go ahead and hit all the parts that we can do with this, namely the boiler system,